It takes a great deal of courage to stand up to your enemies, but a great deal more to stand up to your friends.
If I murdered someone, she's the person I'd call to help me drag the corpse across the living room floor. She's my person.
I stepped up. She's my friend, and she needed help. If I had to, I'd pee on any one of you. Welcome to the Best Friends Playbook podcast.
With your hosts, Crystal and
Alicia. We've known each other for over 27 years, and we're here to share our wisdom on friendships in film, TV, and literature.
So grab some coffee, our favorite, and get cozy.
I guess you guys probably want to get to know who we are, who you're going to be listening to every week after week. Go ahead, Crystal.
We have been best friends, me and Alicia, since I was a baby and you were 1. Just to put that in perspective, I'm now 28 and she's almost 30. So it's been a long, long time. Her mom used to babysit me, actually.
Yeah, the universe conspired somehow. Both our moms were seeing the same hairdresser. And Crystal's mom was like, I need a babysitter. Do you know anyone? She goes, oh, I actually do, which was my mom.
I know. Yeah, we grew up together, but we never went to the same school.
Never.
We only knew each other through the babysitting, which just like became this lifelong friendship.
And then we also ironically lived literally a block apart.
Yeah, for a good chunk of our childhood.
Yeah, it's like the universe was literally forcing us to be together.
Yeah, we like grew up in each other's families, really, I'd say. And even though as we got older, like I moved away and then Alicia moved away, we still like maintained friendship and contact. It's never really wavered. I wouldn't say you've ever not been my best friend. So
yeah, I think we both have. Yeah, I've always been your best friend. We both have definitely had our challenges, though. I feel like junior high and high school was a struggle for us. We were both trying to figure out who we were. I was your typical teenager, trying to find popularity and not understanding who I was as a person. So I felt like we still hung out a lot. We just didn't hang out that much.
Yeah. Well, I think high school also just like pulls you so far apart as
yeah, it messes with you.
Just so many, like I was working, I think you were working.
Yeah. We just had so many different things going on.
Yeah. I was in sports and drama, you were in drama, so it was just like, yeah.
But we would still hang out and have sleepovers, and we would either watch Gilmore Girls or Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah.
And then before bed, we would both be reading the same Harry Potter book, and Crystal would of course always be like 3 chapters ahead of me.
I had a longer commute where I could read it. So,
but you were also a bit more avid reader than I was.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've always had like the same interests, I'd say, as far as movies go, minus horror movies.
Oh, I'm
Alicia
obsessed. Crystal's terrified. Pretty sure my mom has traumatized Crystal.
Yeah.
My mother's the reason why I'm obsessed with horror films. My mom always found it funny to show her kids scary movies, and then always wanted scary movies at my sleepovers. So then when Crystal would come over, the movie would scare her. Thus, no sleepover. She would go home by like 9 p.m.
Yep. Or I'd go hang out somewhere else while they watched the scary movie.
Yeah, which was always then sad. But I felt like I or one of my friends would always come over and be like, what are you doing?
Yeah. It was definitely traumatizing though.
Yeah. I feel like we've both dealt with the issue of, because we've gone to different schools and also been cities apart, we've gotten other friends, which I'm sure we have both expressed in different ways to each other about how we don't enjoy it and how it makes us feel. And that's been a huge growing path for both of us. So yes, that is why we feel that we are MDs, experts on this whole friendship thing, and we get to talk to you and analyze about friendships on our podcast.
Yeah, and I feel like we've also had a fair share of boyfriends that have come and gone, right?
Yeah.
We've settled into like long-term committed relationships now. So I think we've overcome those, and we've overcome the distance and the growing up and the finding yourself and all that stuff that a lot of people, honestly, a lot of people don't do that. I have friends that I had when I was a kid for years, 10, 15 years. Once we became adults and like moved away, never kept in contact again.
Yeah, people are always impressed when they hear that you and I have known each other for so long, because it's like, yeah, how do people keep that bond when so much around them is changing?
I think it's because we feel more like sisters than best friends, honestly.
Yeah, I think that definitely helps.
We used to always get
told we were sisters
from other people when we were kids. They're like, oh, you guys are twins, right? Or you guys are sisters, right? No. We look nothing alike. But
is it because we both have brunette hair? Sure.
Yeah. You just give off the vibe.
Yeah, so I think our friendship has definitely stood the test of time. Because I also know that you and I definitely have different worldviews on lots of things too. And we've just kind of learned to sort of figure that out and put it aside.
Yeah, I think with things like that, with any kind of political worldview, things of that sort, it shouldn't define your friendship, and it shouldn't be a well, we can't be friends then kind of a thing, because that really limits your friendships and your view on life. And you have to have those other friends that have those other feelings, and you don't even have to talk about them. Who the fuck cares, honestly? It doesn't matter in the end. Like, think about it. If everybody was only friends with Democrats or Republicans, then you'd have a really sad view on life, honestly. You kind of need the difference.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the only way the world can sort of come together and become in different places, by us starting to all listen to each other.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely something important in friendships too, is to
diversity,
how to work together.
Yeah. Having a diverse friendship is important.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and dive into Frodo and Sam. I don't know what accent this is I'm doing. Is this Irish?
It's wannabe Irish.
It's wannabe Irish, and then it's gone. It's absolutely gone.
All right. Today we are going to talk about my favorite movie of all time, probably, The Lord of the Rings. Is it your favorite movie of all time too?
Yes, but specifically The Fellowship of the Ring.
Yes. So we're going to talk about Lord of the Rings, specifically Frodo and Sam. But let's talk about how important Lord of the Rings is to us, because I don't know about you, but it's like probably the major movie of my lifetime as far as shaping what I wanted to be and how much I loved films after seeing this. I don't know about you.
I'm an actor, so I think it kind of
right
affected me.
So the way we've first started loving Lord of the Rings, Alicia got the first movie for Christmas, right?
Yeah, from my neighbors. Spoiled little brat me asked for Harry Potter and was like, what is Lord of the Rings? Is it that guy with the ring? It looks so dumb. And my mom goes, you cannot return it. That's rude. So I was like, fine. So everyone goes to sleep, and it's Christmas Eve because we would see my grandma on Christmas Day. I was like, well, I guess since I'm stuck with this, I'll watch it. Cut to 3 a.m. Gandalf is about to die from the Balrog. I'm at the edge of my seat. I don't want to go to bed. We're leaving the house in 3 hours. I was sold.
Yeah. I remember you brought it over to my house. I'm guessing a day or so after Christmas. And you're like, Crystal, you have to watch this. And I had never even heard of it as far as I remember. I looked at the cover and I was like, this doesn't look like something I would ever like at all, right? It looks scary. There's these scary looking dudes in it. And it looks like a guy movie. But you're like, no, you have to watch it. And this really hot guy's in it. And you pointed to Legolas on the cover. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. So we watched it, and it just absolutely changed the way I viewed movies. I went from movies are fun and cool and whatever, to oh my God, if you can make something like this is the coolest fucking movie, and I want to be in movies or help make them if they're going to be like this. I think Tolkien does such a great job of making this entire fantasy world in his books, and Peter Jackson just went, oh, I'm going to fucking make it exactly like that as far as how it looks and how it feels.
Yes, because we do know
plot might change.
Plot and characters are different, and I know there's a lot of issues with that within the community.
I think it was just so beautifully done. It didn't have too much visual effects, and the visual effects still stand up today. There was so many miniatures in it that it didn't feel like some of those, Avatar, where it's just all fake green screen stuff. It wasn't like that. It felt real. It felt like the first Star Wars movies. Where's all those miniatures, not all that extra crap that was just
very
fake.
Practical.
And I think that with Lord of the Rings, the reason it has touched so many people is because it's just so perfectly depicts the way the world has changed. There's this constant battle between good and evil. There's this industrialization of the world, which Tolkien lived through and saw. There's this prejudice between the different races, which I think is so prevalent now and then. It shows us that there's courage within all of us and that we all have a purpose.
But we can also all be affected by the dark.
Yeah. And mostly, I'd say it shows these great, deep friendships that withstand a lot of obstacles. I think it just really depicts the world very nicely, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I agree with all that. That's a huge reason why it's important to me. And it's also important to me, as Crystal talked about, is, it got us both wanting to work in the industry. Mm-hmm. PJ Yes, we are such good friends with Peter Jackson. We refer to him as PJ. He was really kind of the first of his kind as a director to bring such an extensive, proper behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Like Harry Potter had stuff, but it was very minimal and it didn't really explore. Like they literally filmed every single piece of filmmaking of this movie. Like I'm wondering how much is on the cutting floor that didn't even make it onto the DVDs. There was nothing of its kind like this out there, and it really set the bar for what behind the scenes should be for films.
Absolutely.
And I felt like I was still really trying to figure out where my place was in life and what I wanted to do. And growing up, I always was like, oh, I want to be a doctor. Oh, I want to be a lawyer. But I only wanted to be those things from watching movies or TV.
Definitely.
And so once I saw this and how everything was created from like the ground up, I was like, this is where I belong. These are my people. These are the people who get me. This is my world of imagination. I feel like today it sounds cheesy now to be like, oh, Lord of the Rings got me into acting. But it's like something always does it. And this definitely was for me.
Definitely. It was I think it was the first movie I ever saw where I watched all of the behind the scenes stuff, and it really explained it from the very beginning, from like conception to development to producing the pieces and filming them, and then even the screenings of them and the premieres. It was really inspirational. And I always tell my husband when we watch it, like, I don't think he realizes, but I've watched every single behind the scenes thing you can see in the Lord of the Rings, everything off of those DVDs. And I told him that it had inspired me to be in movies, producing them, making them, whatever, because I thought that all movies were made that way for the longest time. Before I really got into it, I was like, if that's how movies are made, I want to be a part of it. You get to go to another country for like 18 months and you get to make all these things from scratch and become this family. And then of course I got into it and I realized it's not necessarily always like that. Those are like some very specific projects that are like that, but it really inspired me for a long time. So
La La Land is very different from New Zealand.
Definitely. I know. Can't they all just be made in New Zealand with Peter Jackson?
We have a few characters we're going to go through, and today we're going to talk about the beloved Frodo and Sam.
I know, they're the best. I love them. At least when the movies start, they seem like they've been lifelong friends since the very beginning. But in many ways, I think their friendship doesn't feel equal on both sides. I found that Sam is like more attentive to Frodo's needs. Frodo just really builds Sam's confidence. You know, like he's just there to build his confidence, his ego, gives him some guidance. Sam is like a caregiver. He like walks Frodo home. He gardens for him, you know.
Although I do think Frodo was walking Sam home that night. Sam was really drunk.
Maybe. I don't know. All I know is Sam walked Frodo to his door and then left. He also makes sure Frodo eats and sleeps and is responsible for protecting him throughout the whole movie, or all three movies, really. Sam, I would say, is more of the supportive character. I feel like he's less developed than Frodo.
Yeah, he definitely is. I feel like we start to learn more about Sam as the journey goes on, especially as we get like farther into the three films. We learn more about his character and who he is as a person. Mm-hmm. And I would definitely say you're right about him being Frodo's caretaker. I mean, why else would Gandalf be like, okay, you have to go on this crazy mission with Frodo that you know nothing about, and it's incredibly dangerous and your life is at risk. I mean, we already know that Gandalf is like a man of consequences, and his consequences for hobbits when they misbehave are pretty bad. But I feel like he wouldn't have entrusted Sam to go on this if he didn't think that he could take care of Frodo. So he had to know how special their bond was.
Yeah, and the fact that he was eavesdropping on him, I think Gandalf was just like, oh, you really care about him, obviously, because you're sitting here listening at the window.
That like was a moment where like we really saw how true Sam's loyalty was. Because like, okay, he's drunk, so his emotions are already high, but he's like, who is in my best friend's house right now? You know what? I'm gonna go hide in the bushes.
I know. It was cute. It was a cute moment.
It's a great moment.
There's just these moments where they just like look at each other and smile, and you're like, I don't know if you like into him or if you just are like thinking on the same wavelength.
Yeah, and I think when you go through that kind of life experience with someone, that your love becomes that pure for them, because it's basically life or death and you guys only have each other.
It like borders line on like a friendship versus a love story at times, you know, because they're willing, at least Sam is like willing to die for Frodo.
There could be a romance there between them.
Yeah. It does look like it at times, but I mean, at the end, Sam obviously marries a woman, so.
But like when Frodo leaves,
that.
I feel like there's a piece of him that's gone.
Definitely.
Yeah. And so,
well, and Frodo even says, like, I don't want you to live like a split life. Like, I want you to be whole for your wife and your family. So
I think that was his way of saying, like, our story is over.
Yeah.
We can't be in love anymore. You can love me from a distance, but you better be a really good husband.
Yeah.
Because you wanted Rosie. You were talking about her at the top of Mount Doom.
I'd say the overall best quality about their friendship is that they're just willing to die for each other. Like that's something that I feel like a lot of friendships don't have. Obviously, this is a special story where it's a lot more apparent and obvious that it could happen at any moment, you know? There's no question that they would die for each other.
And that's what I think makes their friendship so pure, is that they both love each other unconditionally without any hitches or resentments. And Sam is always on his side, and he's never passive aggressive. Like, you know, when you have a new friend come into the circle, which is basically Gollum.
Yeah.
And you're just like, don't steal my friend.
Yeah, totally jealous.
And we all act jealous and passive aggressive. And Sam doesn't act like that. He's very concerned and worried. And when it gets out of control, then he's like, look, Frodo, you're letting this creeper influence you. That's not okay. So he stands up to him, which I think is good. He's honest the whole time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's always honest.
Well, let's talk about how they're alike. I mean, obviously they're friends for a reason.
There's similarities. All right. So they're both hobbits from the Shire, and they've never been far from home before. That's like the most obvious basic one.
Which then shows they have like the same life view.
Yes.
Life experiences.
Yeah. I'd say they're both pretty positive hobbits.
Hobbits are usually considered happy folk. Yeah.
Positive, happy when the story begins. But they don't do anything out of the ordinary, too. So
They don't. I mean, maybe
They're
Sam
homebodies.
plants a new plant he has never planted before and gets a little crazy. I think that's it.
And then they all go to the same pub and get drunk.
Yeah. It's very 9 to 5 kind of life.
I know, right?
Their unrequited love that they have for one another.
Yeah.
I feel like it's so true and pure that it also goes towards everyone else in their life. Like, obviously it's the deepest between them, but they're very good at like loving people for who they are.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say that. I mean, you see them like look into each other's eyes and smile a lot in the movie, right? But you also see Frodo do that with his other friends when he's leaving at the very end, you know? Like
Yeah.
getting on the ship. Like he has that same happy expression where just like pure love.
I mean, even with Bilbo, he gives Bilbo that look when they're at the party and he's like, have you been at the Gaffa again? Drinking too much?
Yeah. Even when he sees Gandalf in the beginning. I don't know. Maybe they're just really happy. Other similarities. I'd say at the end of the Fellowship, when they're both at Rivendell, before they have like the big council meeting, I picked up on it that like they both were really ready to go home. Like they didn't think they were going to go any farther. They just had to get it to Rivendell. They were kind of done. And he even says it. Frodo like turns to Sam and says like, I'm ready to go home.
Yeah.
And you can see it in Sam's eyes. Like, oh, thank God, me too.
Yeah, like this adventure has gone way farther than they ever expected it to actually go.
I know. Little do they know it was just the very beginning. I have one more similarity between them, which I think is a pretty big one. Considering how much Sam really hates Gollum, though, neither one of them has the heart to ever kill him.
Okay, I think Sam has the heart to kill Gollum. He doesn't have the heart to break Frodo's heart by killing Gollum.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think the only reason he keeps Gollum alive is because he sees how attached Frodo is to him, because Frodo thinks that could be him at some point. So he
That's
feels
true.
for him.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and so Sam's like...
Frodo has this like belief that Gollum can come back because that's going to be him one day and he has to be able to come back too, you know?
So I don't know. I think Sam could have done it.
Yeah.
I think if he knew Frodo would forgive him,
Maybe.
I think he would have killed him.
I don't know. Sam's so cute and innocent. I just don't know.
But he's been like from the very beginning ready to throw down and kill people who've like attacked Frodo, or like if someone's come in their way that they don't know, like he's at the front lines.
That is true. But at the end of the day with Gollum, they always, you know, they'd get close to killing him, because even Frodo does at one point. He tries, you know, he's willing to save Sam when Gollum attacks him. But then they always like, it just changes in their eyes and they see this like pity behind their eyes and they're like, oh, I can't really kill you. You're just like sad and pathetic and you have these two personalities and, you know, once upon a time you were basically a hobbit.
That's true. I'm curious though. You guys should let us know what you think. Do you think Sam could have killed Gollum?
I know. I want to know.
We'll put a poll on our Instagram after this episode comes out and you can let us know.
I don't know. Do you have any others?
Honestly, it was just that their love was so strong, like, and that I feel like they really are genuine to everyone else in their life that way.
That's true. It's not like they ever lie or anything. Like they're pretty genuine.
Yeah,
human beings.
and even how they take interest in wanting to get to know others. Mm-hmm. You know, when Frodo is he can't sleep and he hears Aragorn singing, he's like, who's that about? You know, he wants to know the pain that Aragorn feels, and he wants to be there for him.
Yeah. They're inherently curious and care about others.
Yeah, which when we get to another episode, we'll get deeper into how bad curiosity can be sometimes.
Mm-hmm. That is very true.
So how are they different?
How are they different? I would say, One of the bigger differences I found was that Frodo is far more independent than
So
Sam.
independent.
Sam is just so reliant and attentive to Frodo. And I just feel like Frodo is a little more off on his own. You know, like even in the first scene, you see Frodo, he's off in the forest by himself reading, you know, he's a dreamer. He's an independent guy. You know, I think eventually he wants to travel like Bilbo did. But Sam is very much like those core Hobbit qualities where he just wants to stay at home and do normal things that I'm used to, stay in my comfort zone and have his best friend there. You know, I think Frodo is just across the board more independent on everything.
Yeah, and I think he gets that from Bilbo because Bilbo took care of him and after he came back from his adventures.
True.
And kind of showed him like how to be his own thinker and dreamer and want to do all these different things and not be like a typical hobbit, which
Yeah.
again, nothing wrong with the hobbit life, but
Yeah.
Frodo wants something different.
Yeah. And Bilbo's not a typical hobbit.
No.
And Frodo doesn't have parents too. So, I mean, that I'm sure that plays into it.
Oh,
you know?
yeah. Yeah, he's raised by like a single man hobbit who like went off and did all these crazy adventures and he had all those stories to hear,
Yeah.
all those maps to look at. Sam had his old gaffer.
I know.
I actually think Sam is courageous in a very different way. I believe because he's so close to Hobbiton and that lifestyle, that he actually has more hope and good in him throughout the journey. Obviously,
Yeah.
Frodo has the ring, which stops that. But Frodo's courage then I think is laid more and he can handle more emotionally. He can handle more of a weight on him.
Yeah,
And Sam can't. Sam can only handle dealing with Frodo.
definitely.
And I feel like Frodo has way more on his plate. So
Oh, yeah.
I feel like Frodo's way too scared to fight, but Sam will throw down and kill an orc any day.
He will. And Frodo's a lot more go with the flow, whereas Sam is, you know, always worrying and things have to be proper and, you know, all this stuff. Frodo is much more equipped for a long journey than Sam is when they start out.
I mean, Sam brings his salts from Hobbiton in case they can have a perfect stew.
Yeah.
Frodo's like, I'll starve.
Yeah.
I gotta get rid of this ring.
Yeah. He's like, I don't really care that much about it.
Yeah.
I already said this one, but I totally agree. Sam is always willing to fight for Frodo. Like, throw down, I will kill you, I will draw my sword, do whatever. Frodo, you don't really see that except the one time that Gollum attacks Sam. I mean, granted, Sam isn't getting attacked as much. He's not the one carrying the ring, you know? But I just feel like you see a lot more protectiveness come out of Sam than you do out of Frodo.
Which is a perfect segue to my favorite moment in the Fellowship I was telling you about earlier. I've never noticed this until I've had to like watch their characters like in deep intimacy. And when they're at the prancing pony and Sam's just like, the fellow's done nothing but stare at you since we arrived. And he's pointing over to Aragorn. It sounds like he's like a jealous wife.
Yeah.
Saying like, this waitress won't stop staring at you and she keeps flirting with you and
Pure
you come
jealousy.
over. Like,
She's staring at, or he's staring at your tits or something like
he's
that.
like, stop looking at her. It's so funny. And yeah, I think that's really like how deep his loyalty will go, which then, you know, points out to when Aragorn takes Frodo into the room after he puts on the ring. Bursting through the door is him, Merry, and Pippin. But Merry and Pippin both have like, I think like a candle set and the other one has like a chair. No, Sam's right there, like bare knuckles. You're like 10 times taller than me, Aragorn. Like, I will sock you to the ground. I will find a way to kill you because you took my Frodo away from me.
Yep, that's totally true.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
That's what I'm saying. He's a good emotional fighter, but not physical.
That's what I put on here. Frodo's battle is a constant internal one. you
Yeah.
know? It's always him against his like draw to the ring. And, you know, is it going to overtake me? Am I going to turn out like Gollum? Whereas, you know, Sam's this external battle trying to protect Frodo.
Yeah, he's always willing
And also
to throw
kind
down
of
a fight.
Not only protecting Frodo, but like protecting who Frodo is and who, you know, he doesn't want him to turn out like Gollum or, you know, become this like evil guy that is obsessed with the ring.
He wants like the goodness and the pureness.
Yeah.
To still
He wants
stay
his
in
friend.
Frodo.
He wants his friend to stay the same.
Which I guess then we could say, they always say like, if you love someone, you should let them be who they are.
Yeah. That is true.
So if Frodo is going to change for the ring, should Sam interfere with that?
No, because it's evil. You don't want to change for something evil.
Exactly.
You can't let your best friend become some douchebag or something like that.
Which is why we love that Sam is always brutally honest with him.
Throughout the whole first two, half of the third one, movies I'm talking about, Frodo, you know, you see it a couple times where Frodo knows that like he's not coming back. There's no journey home. This is it. I'm going to die. I'm gonna, and I'm willing to ditch my friends and do it alone and sacrifice myself to make sure that this happens, right? But Sam is always planning for the journey home. He's rationing his bread. He says it a couple times. He's comforting him. It's okay. It's gonna be better for the journey home. Frodo isn't thinking that way at all. And he never really shares that with him until the very end, I think, when are they on the mountain maybe? Like on the volcano?
I know the moment you're talking about. So they're actually, it's basically once they put on like the orc camouflage and they're about to step out into the Campster Cross.
You're right.
And Sam's basically like, there's no turning back at this point. Like, we've committed. We're probably going to die. Mm-hmm. So once we go through this, we can't go back to Hobbiton. Yeah. It's over. And that's, you're right. That's the first time Sam finally admits that he actually has had no hope. Yeah. He's a very good actor.
I know. It was sad, but it was cute that he thought that whole entire time that they were going to go back. And then, in the end they did. So,
yeah. But, so, jokes on both of them.
He has more hope than Frodo.
Oh, yeah, he definitely does. Well, and also speaking of like, I don't necessarily know if Frodo would be willing to drown to save Sam. Like, I know. That he's leaving like the shores of Emmenmeal so he can cross over into Mordor by himself because life is so terrible and he doesn't want to drag everyone down with him.
I'm just gonna go it alone.
Sam's like, no, you're not. I will drown. I will guilt you. I think that's probably the most melodramatic thing Sam has done.
Definitely.
Little passive. He's like, I'm gonna drown and then you have to save me and put me in that boat. It's like
pure love right there, and a little bit of
masochism.
Manipulation. Like, hey, I'm gonna drown if you don't take me with you.
You have to come save me. But it is really sweet that like Frodo picks him up and they hug tightly, and he essentially accepts that like he owes it to Sam to bring him with him because he's so loyal to him. Like why wouldn't he be there for him? Because clearly Sam also needs him.
And Sam made a promise that he would, make sure he was safe. So if he just left him, then it's like you're not letting Sam fulfill his like duty, which is what Sam is all about.
I like that he doesn't break his promises.
Things that solidify or just major plot points that are important to you.
I feel like Gollum is a huge plot point in their friendship because Gollum sees this as an opportunity of like, how can I get the ring? So he's going to do everything possible to put a wedge between Sam and Frodo. He sees that Sam absolutely hates him and Frodo's like emotionally attached to him. So he uses that to continue like vindictively getting in between them.
Oh, totally. He drives this huge wedge in between them.
Yeah. And he does it with like every chance that he gets. And it doesn't help that like the journey's gotten harder. So Sam's becoming more negative. He's complaining about going through the marshes. Like he hates everything that Gollum's making them do, which is then also killing like any hope that Frodo has left. And usually Sam's like the good old jolly guy that keeps everything brighter. And I feel like Gollum just always uses that.
Oh yeah. Gollum, like he plays on their weaknesses with each other. And I think one of the major things I noticed when Gollum comes into the picture in the Two Towers, major plot point, because Frodo falls into the bog, right? What's really surprising is it's Gollum that saves him, not Sam. And it's the first time all of my plot points from the first film, I'm not getting all of them, are Sam volunteering for Frodo or saving Frodo from something. The first one there when he gets stabbed, the first one there when he's about to die.
The only other one he wasn't there for, but that's because he was like on the other side geographically, is when they have that big fight in Moria in that one room and he gets stabbed by the dungeon troll. He's like way too far away, so he can't help him. But yeah, really where Gollum saves him and Frodo's surprised it's not Sam.
I know. And, Gollum really plays into Frodo's weakness that, they share this burden of the ring. And Gollum is basically looking in his eyes saying, I know what it's going to do to you. I know how you feel. Sam's never going to understand that. He's never going to feel that.
Well, which is also why Frodo once again is ready to ditch him right as they're at the Black Gates. And he's like, I don't ask you to come with me, Sam. And it's just like, bro, he's been on this with you for how long? You're going to tell him to turn around now? That's kind of a dig. But I also feel like that's him feeling like his burden is only something him and Gollum can understand once again. It's kind of like when your friend is upset about something. It's like, well, you wouldn't understand. It's like, well, maybe if you talk to me about it, you might find out.
Totally. I'm with you on that one.
I have a soft spot for this line when Sam says, I wonder what my gaffer would say if he could see us now. It's a really surreal moment for them. And that kind of shows that even though they're like at their scariest moments, that's
where were they when he said that? I can't picture it.
It's right after the marshes. I think it's when they're at the Black Gate, actually.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. Yep.
It's right at the Black Gate. And it's one of those surreal moments where like they've kind of almost achieved their victory. Mm-hmm. You know, they haven't completely destroyed the ring, but they finally got to Mordor, which was like the first goal.
Yeah.
And it's just funny because obviously this is like the worst thing they could be doing in their life. Mm-hmm. But Sam's just like, God, my gaffer would love to hear this story. And I feel like that's a comment that you can only share with a friend that you've been with like your whole life.
Yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. Nobody else knows his dad.
And Frodo knows exactly what his dad's reaction would be.
Yeah. I would say I have a good end of second film. Or I might even label it the climax. I did on my notes, so clearly it was important. So they're at Osgiliath, right? With, I think Faramir took them there.
Is it Faramir or Faramir?
I always said Faramir.
It's like the Hermione issue all over again. Nobody knew how to pronounce her name.
It probably depends on what accent you have when you say it. So the Nazgul flies down, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of like puts Frodo in that trance, you know, and he almost puts the ring on, flies down right in front of him. And Sam ends up saving Frodo yet again, right? Pushes him down, gets him out of his little trance and saves him from giving up the ring, really. Frodo like turns on him right away and almost freaking kills him. Yeah. Right? And, you know, and then he, you know, snaps out of it and he's fine. But Sam, like, I think that's when Sam finally realizes that they can't turn back anymore. You know, like we got to go all the way through and do it because this shit can't happen.
Yeah, like it's literally destroying everything he loves about Frodo.
Yeah. And that was one of my favorite lines Sam says there. He says, "There's some good in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for." And I feel like, you know, up until that point, Sam wasn't necessarily willing to go all the way and fight all the way for it. You know, he's willing to be there for Frodo, but I think that was his first realization that he has to go all the way too.
Yeah, because Frodo won't survive without him.
Yeah. I thought it was a pretty pivotal moment.
Yeah, Sam likes to give speeches.
He does.
He also gave a speech about little Gandalf and his fireworks.
Yeah, he gives cute little speeches, though. He has a good heart.
It's also interesting, speaking about that story about them being like the good ones. Later on in Return of the King, Sam calls Gollum the villain in their story. And that's when Frodo's like, I really need you to be on my side.
Yeah.
And Sam says he is. And Frodo's like, I know you're on my side, but you're not trusting me. And this is, again, continuing to create that divide between Sam and Frodo over Gollum. And I feel like Frodo, like, again, we've discussed, Frodo feels like that's a piece of him. He says it's just because they need Gollum as a guide. But I feel like because Sam isn't trusting Frodo in that moment, that's actually hurting Frodo more. And because he feels like that, he wants to lean more towards Gollum in this moment. But that's why Sam's so frustrated, is because Frodo's not seeing the truth. He can't be objective about the situation.
I would totally equate that to like when your best friend is in a really shitty relationship and you know that the guy is shit, and you may even try and tell them, but the person in the relationship can't see outside of it, you know, like they're too in it. That's how Frodo is with Gollum. He's so in it that he can't see that he's the villain.
So then in turn, Sam is the villain in Frodo's eyes.
And I mean, think about it. He goes on thinking that Gollum is great and whatever. He leaves Sam. Very similar to how some friends are with relationships, you know?
Yeah.
There's plenty of friendships I've had where like the girl gets a new guy or whatever and just like leaves all their best friends by the wayside. Oh, I have this guy now. He's more important.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Frodo does.
Yeah, he got
to that extent.
He got a new girlfriend.
Yeah.
Not very cute.
No. more like a dog.
I just love how jealous Sam gets throughout this whole film, and people like start to want to hurt him or interfere with him. He's such a little fighter.
Let's be real. Lowest point in their friendship is when
the breadcrumbs.
Yes, the breadcrumbs. Gollum like slowly puts this wedge in between them and it gets worse and worse. And then he frames Sam with the breadcrumbs and causes like Frodo's paranoia to just go like haywire, which is funny because, by the way, Frodo isn't fucking eating anything anyways. So
I know. Why does he care? He's clearly going on a fast. He's like, I'm on the ring fast right now.
And so Sam like even offers, you know, just to try, I think he's just trying to like get through to Frodo, like, hey, like I'm your friend, not this guy. And he even offers to carry the ring. And Gollum like had put in that side note, like, hey, he's gonna offer to like carry.
Yeah, like 10 minutes before, and you're like, great. How could Sam have known that?
Yeah. Which just like pushes Frodo over the edge and he's like, no, I'm done. Bye. Stay here.
And I think that's kind of where Sam's arc is, because this is the first time he like lets Frodo tell him what to do and he accepts it that he has to go back home.
Yeah.
But then later on
But he obviously doesn't do that.
He's like, F that.
Yeah.
I made a promise to Gandalf.
Yeah. But it's so heartbreaking. He just starts crying and just like sits down and huddles in little fetal position and cries. And it's like the saddest thing in the world.
I think Sam's or Frodo's mini arc in this part of the film, which Crystal wouldn't know because she didn't watch anything with Shelob. We both have fear of spiders, but Crystal's is really bad.
Mine is like I can't even describe it. I'll just start bawling. It's just so bad. It's just like this unconditional fear that's only gotten worse with age. I used to be able to watch. I've seen the Shelob scenes. I used to be able to watch them, even the spider scenes in Harry Potter. But as I've gotten older, I can't watch anything with spiders.
So that's
giant ones.
That shows our strength of friendship.
Yes,
is that I watch the spider part going ew, ew, ew every 2 seconds. That's so gross.
Thank you for taking that bullet.
You're welcome.
I had my husband fast forward through all the scenes and tell me when the spider was gone.
So the moment is Frodo's in Shelob's tunnel, cave, whatever it is, her dark, ooey gooey place with all the icky, huge spider webs. I'm trying to creep Crystal out right now.
Sounds like you just made a reference to a vagina, by the way.
Well, that's cruel.
Dark, ooey gooey. That's what you said.
Actually, okay. Yeah. Sounds about right. Frodo's all alone. He's realized that Gollum has betrayed him and he made a horrible mistake. And as he's trying to go through and find his strength again, he just whispers, "I'm so sorry, Sam. So sorry."
I totally missed that. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, that's a big moment, because then it's like this, now that his warrior is gone, Frodo has to become a warrior. He has to fight Shelob. Obviously, he fails at the end. Yeah, but he does get out of her cave really well. And he gets his strength back. And he has the Light of Galadriel helping him. He has to become his own warrior. And then Gollum attacks him.
And then he gets stunned by Shelob and she wraps him up into a little cocoon. But then it's cute because Sam tries to...
Did you see that fight? You didn't watch that fight.
I didn't. I came after when Sam is like holding him and he says, "Don't leave me here alone. Don't go where I can't follow."
Sam fought with his bare hobbit feet and arms to stab Shelob. It was great. Yeah. It's so gross. Like her poison stinger like goes into the ground at one point. I'm like, does that hurt?
Yeah. Ugh. So gross.
The little things I like to do to gross Crystal out. But yeah, once again, Sam finds his strength, comes back, beats the crap out of Shelob. Victory.
But like a super cute line, "Don't leave me here alone. Don't go where I can't follow." It's so perfect for Sam, right? Because he just follows Frodo everywhere.
He does, and he thinks Frodo's died. And so he's just like, where do I go? What do I do?
His whole reason for being there was Frodo, and he's gone. So.
Exactly. That's why Frodo owes him like a lot.
Yes.
Ridiculous.
I'm with you on that one.
Now they're about to go up to, Mount Doom.
Whoa, hold on, wait. Major plot point here. So Frodo doesn't die.
Oh, that's right.
Which we think he does. Sam thinks he does.
"Sam, you fool."
Yeah. Line. Sam takes the ring, finds out that Frodo didn't die because he hears the orcs talking, and the orcs take him up to the tower, right? And Sam comes in and just fucking slaughters them.
He only slaughters 3 because they all get in a fight over the mithril and kill each other like fools.
But he gets all, he like fakes him out. He gets all big and scary as he's going up the stairs. And then he comes in and he slaughters a couple of them and saves Frodo, and Frodo apologizes, which is great.
First thing out of Frodo's mouth, which is great. He, good friend. He knows he screwed up.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so Sam is almost tempted by the ring right there. When he's asked Frodo.
When he gives it back to him.
He holds it for a second.
Yeah.
But then right after that, we see Sam's hope come back, and he makes the really cute line. He's like, "Come on, Mr. Frodo. We best find you some clothes. You can't go walking into Mordor with nothing but your skin."
Yeah.
So cute. And I feel like Sam's found his strength again in that moment, which is really important. Because how else is he going to get Frodo through Mordor without that hope?
Yeah. Frodo makes it very clear, like, the ring is his burden, and I don't want you to feel the negativity of it.
I mean, they have another moment of that where, Sam's like, "We did it. We made it to Mordor." But Frodo's like, "There's so many. We'll never make it unseen." And just as they do, they make it down the hill. And Sam points to the orcs moving off, and they're in their orc camouflage. And Sam's like, "See, Mr. Frodo, some luck at last." So he's continuing to put that hope in and push him forward.
They get through Mordor. They're climbing the volcano. And I mean, Peter Jackson just makes it look fucking awful, right? It's just like their lips are so chapped and they're covered in dirt.
They got sunburned in like 2 seconds.
And there's no water and they're just like, it's so heavy and they're going uphill, which, by the way, I don't know how anybody could ever climb that far for that long. But anyways, so they both collapse in exhaustion, right?
Yeah.
And Sam really realizes there's no way we're going back home. Like, there is no return journey. This is it.
It's about the water.
Yeah. There's no return journey. It's not happening. And so he thinks about the Shire. He recalls it for Frodo, as kind of, I think, like a last hope, a last push to get him up to the very end because he wants to save the Shire. Like, they might not get to go, but I got to save it for the others, right?
And it's so sad because Frodo's like, "I just told darkness."
Yeah.
Ugh.
And then, and so then Sam goes, "I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you," and, picks him up and carries him in, tries to carry him all the way in. And
I don't care how cheesy that line is.
I think it's cute.
It's the best, metaphor for this whole thing. Like, he's been carrying Frodo through this whole thing. And Frodo, I feel like that's also showing that like Frodo finally let him in and decided to fully trust him in this mission.
Yeah, it was great. And because, Sam can't carry the ring, but he can carry Frodo and he can get him there. I'd say it's a really high point in their friendship. And Sam is willing to sacrifice everything for him.
His whole life.
It was really cute until Gollum attacked them.
Well, and then Frodo, why do I want to say Rodo? Frodo is like, you know what? I'm going to keep the ring. And then he just goes and like kicks Sam over.
Yeah, I know. It's a great example of just how the ring takes over him entirely. And
I consider it very similar to like addiction to like drugs or alcohol, and your friends trying to stop you from taking another hit.
They don't care.
And they choose the drug or the addiction over
the power over them is just too strong. And it doesn't matter how many people they hurt in the process. It's all about them. It's a very selfish disease, in that sense. And it just breaks the heart of everybody around you.
Yeah. So in a sense, it's almost like Sam has been trying to care Frodo through, like a recovery center. Yeah. And he finally got the drop and he had to have it.
I know, right?
Frodo's got to start his, 100 days over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was sad because Sam had so much faith in him. And I think he really thought he could make it all the way through and destroy it without
being tempted.
Such a big inward struggle that he had.
Yeah.
But I think the whole point is that struggle is within everybody. And that's probably what Tolkien and Jackson are trying to tell is like everybody has an inward struggle of some kind, including Frodo, Everybody has that. Nobody is Superman, so.
Yeah, and I feel for Sam because, it's hard when you have a friend that you feel like is going down the wrong path or doing something you don't want them to do. And like, you don't want to tell them like, don't do it or like, what's wrong with you? Because then you're going to push them farther away. But at the same time, if it's that breaking point, like what else do you do? Like you're going to lose either way.
Yeah, you just lose the faith in them.
But Frodo gets his karma. He has his finger gets bitten off by Gollum.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that.
Because Gollum's like, I'm going to bite your finger off. I have to have the ring. Like, he's so far past addiction.
Yeah, he's not even he's like a subhuman.
Yeah.
Does he ever get his finger put back on? I didn't notice that part.
Oh, wow. No. We should like hit up PJ and be like, yo, did he ever get his finger back? Or is it just like forever a
I should like rewatch the like little hospital scene where they all like jump on the bed together and check that he has 10 fingers or not.
I mean, I don't know. Is elven magic that good that they can like regrow a finger? Because we know that like Gollum like either swallowed that finger or like by the way, the look that Crystal made was so cringy. She was like,
I just imagine choking on it.
Well, we know he eats raw fish. Why wouldn't he eat a raw hobbit
Which
finger?
I choked when he did that too, watching the movie.
But that finger either went in Gollum's mouth or into the fires of Mordor. Yeah. And we know from Grey's Anatomy, you cannot reattach a limb without the proper limb, and it has to be a clean cut.
By the way, side note, when I was watching the movie with my husband and Gollum bites into that raw fish, he goes, I was like, oh my God, it's so gross. And I made like the throw up sound and he goes, it's like sushi. I'm like, what? No, it's not.
But they like cook the sushi a little longer, and they also gut out all the other parts. I shouldn't be talking about this. I'm vegan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he bites his finger off to get it back. And then essentially they both go tumbling down. And then because it's a movie, Sam finds Frodo hanging on the ledge with his one good hand.
Yep.
How do people always catch the ledge when we know it's physically impossible?
I've tried to jump up and grab the monkey bars, and that usually doesn't happen. So can you imagine falling and trying to grab a little piece of rock? Like
movies.
Yeah.
And then of course, like he's trying to reach Sam with his really bloody hand and he can't get his grip.
And Sam's like, don't you let go. Very unrealistic, but Frodo has to live, I guess.
So they've destroyed the ring, and Sam is now wishing that he could have married Rosie. This whole journey taught Sam he just needs to talk to girls he likes.
I know.
That shows how simple he is.
Shy. And Frodo's the one pushing him to do it in the beginning. Oh, go dance with Rosie. Go blah, blah, blah. And Sam is just so shy. But after that, he's like, fuck, I've lived through all this. I could get the girl.
PSA, you don't need to travel half across the world and almost die to get the courage to talk to the person you have a crush on.
Yes.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Don't be Sam.
Don't wait until you almost die multiple times to do it.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's funny how Sam will fight an orc any day, but he can't talk to Rosie Cottontail.
Yeah. Is that her last name? Cottontail?
It's Cottontail or Cotton something.
Yeah, I think it does have cotton in it.
Yeah.
So the very end.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this because I think it's just the end in general when they show the hobbits back in the Shire is a really great example of like when war vets come back to the country, you know, and they have to go back to normal life. Because I have a fair share of friends that have come back from fighting overseas, and it is so incredibly hard for them to come back to normal life, to be able to just like sit in a room and do nothing and not hear gunfire or worry about something. And you can see how it affected them when they first get back to the Shire. Nobody's accepting them. You know, everybody thinks they're
like, where have they been for so long?
Where have they been? They're not real hobbits. They did stuff that we would never do, you know? And even though Sam kind of assimilates, and even Merry and Pippin, because they have each other, assimilate better than Frodo does, Frodo never gets back to his normal life. He is so changed by the journey that it really changes who he is, you know? Like, he's a totally different person at the end. And not in a bad way, just entirely different, which war does to you, you
and
know?
It's so funny you say that, because my partner, David, his dad was in the military, and he also said that when he was watching the movie. He's like, that's exactly what that is.
Yeah.
It's PTSD.
Yeah, it's sad, but I mean, at least he finds something to do instead. He goes on another journey. He gets on that ship and he leaves, and it sucks because he's leaving all of his friends, but it's something he has to do for himself.
He has to find normalcy for his life.
Yeah, and it's not the Shire anymore, and that's okay, you know?
Yeah, and Tolkien was in World War I, so he knows that feeling really well.
Oh yeah, I think it's probably something that he always struggled with. And what I liked at the end was I think he writes a letter to Sam or something. I don't know. There's like the dialogue over the scene, you know, and it shows Sam going back to his normal life, and Frodo says something along the lines of, I don't want you to live this split life anymore. I want you to be whole for your wife and your kids. He doesn't say that, but he says, I want you to be whole again, you know? And so he leaves so that Sam can do that, because, you know, Sam is always going to have these two separate lives, like the one he had before with Frodo and all the things they did, and then this like new normal life. And you have to find a way to either meld them together or just kind of, you know, move on from it. And maybe he wasn't doing that up until that point, because he said it had been like a year later or something. Yeah. Right.
It's funny. Sam has this line that he says to Frodo. I can't remember in which film, but he tells Frodo, he's like, they're going to be just like Bilbo. They're in back again. And then at the very end of the movie, the last line that Sam says to Rosie, he goes, well, I'm back. But he's not back with Frodo, and I think there's still a part of him that's missing in that. But they both did make it back, and I mean, that's something that Frodo also tells Sam when he's leaving. He's like, we set out to save the Shire. We did that. He's like, I have no more purpose.
See, maybe what Sam meant at the end when he said I'm back is that like he's back, like the whole of him is back. You know, now that Frodo's moved on and is gone, you know, I can live my life that I was meant to live now. I'm totally back. There's not that part of me that's drawn to Frodo for whatever reason, whether I'm in love with him or I just have this shared journey with him. Or
so that look and the expression of it could have just been like sort of a bittersweet feeling.
Yeah.
These two.
That is the entire story.
They are so much.
Is that how it ended in the book, by the way?
I have not finished the book. I love Tolkien. I love the stories he's created. The books are just a bit different from the movies, and normally I'm very like advocate for the books always being better. But these are a little slow. He's good on world building.
Yes.
So I don't know yet. I'll have to revive that in another episode to see how it ends.
Hopefully by the time we do episode 3, you'll be able to tell us, because that's our last episode on Lord of the Rings, how it truly ends and all the differences.
Well, Crystal just gave me a new challenge that I have to achieve now.
Yeah.
All right, I got to make that happen. How did this friendship make you feel? Is there anything you learned from it? What came of it?
I don't have a friendship that borders on that kind of love where it's like I have best friends, but you're my best friend. I would die for you. Like if you asked me for a kidney or something, I'd give you one, you know, but that's almost like sister love. Yeah. That's different. So if I had to compare their friendship to one in my life, I don't think I have one that I would compare this friendship to.
And I think there's
very separate.
Really happens because they've been through something very similar to war.
Yeah.
And so I think that
it's probably something that you'd have to compare to, like, if one of us was like in the army, I'd have somebody an
actual life or death experience. Yeah.
Totally. I could agree with that for sure. I mean, overall, I think I learned a lot about giving more in a friendship than taking. Because I think, at least on Sam's side, you see that and you feel that and you go, wow, he really is willing to do anything for that friend. Like, am I that good with my friends? Probably not. I should probably put more effort towards them, you know? I'd say I took away that as probably a big part of their friendship.
Yeah, Sam's loyalty is something I really look upon. I consider myself a very loyal friend, but then it's like, I feel like that loyalty can be muddled sometimes. Just like you said, we don't give ourselves that much to our friends. Maybe we could give more.
Definitely. That's always a goal of mine.
Yeah. But, it's also hard because we also have to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
But I also think there's something special about how pure their friendship is.
Yeah, definitely.
And they're like very, very accepting of each other. And I just feel like they also live in a very different world. Theirs is very like cut and dry of like what the world is, light and dark.
Yeah.
And unfortunately in our world, there's so many different things that make us different.
There's like 50 shades of gray.
Literally though, like there's all these different things that make us, we have all our different morals and ethics that make us who we are.
Yeah.
And, it's hard when you have all those different points of views.
Definitely. And I think this friendship in the movie and the books, it's really the only one I'd say that's like this, where there's such a clear wedge driven between them because of a third party, like another friend that comes into the mix. If you want to call Gollum a friend, he's not really a friend, but let's just say for life's sake, it's a great example of when one of your friends gets another best friend and you feel jealous and you don't know how to take it. And you might even hate them at first, or you might even grow to like them. And it's a great example of how to deal with your friends getting new friends, because it really is the only relationship in the movie where this like third entity comes in and kind of fucks up their chemistry.
Yeah, because Merry and Pippin never seem to be an issue. I think
they're like so close. It's brother love, really. Yeah,
like those two are so close that when all four of them hang out, that there's no interference.
Yeah, it's very clear that these two are best friends and these two are best friends. And we can be a foursome together, but bottom line, there's like this clear difference. Like,
we know who's
we're
gonna
over
go
here,
with who.
Frodo and Sam, and we're over here, Merry and Pippin. And no matter what, we're gonna split off, and these two are gonna go one way, and these two are gonna go one way.
They're like the two best friend couples that love to double date.
Yeah, totally. How would you characterize Frodo's character arc?
I feel like he finally, at the end, relinquishes any hobbitness that's attached to him. Like we were discussing, he's not like your typical hobbit. He's very independent. He's a dreamer. He wants to go off on adventures. And getting to being the ring bearer and the fact that he's already attached to the ring gives him that opportunity to do that. Mm-hmm. But he slowly starts to realize how naive and innocent he was to believe that. And once he goes through the journey, he realizes he can never be a hobbit again. So I would say, towards the very end, that's when he realizes I'm not like everyone else anymore. I don't belong here. I've never been like them. And that might also be why he's less like Sam, and Sam will follow him around anywhere. But he, like you said, Frodo would never really follow Sam back. And I think that's because he leads a different life.
Definitely.
And Sam's always sort of looked up to that independent spirit about him.
Yeah.
But at the end, he still wanted to be in Hobbiton.
Yeah. I think Frodo has the biggest, I'd say, inward character arc, of who he is when he starts. He's like this cute little happy guy, and he wanted to go on adventures because Bilbo did, but it wasn't something that he was really eager to jump into necessarily. When he gets the ring, you can just see how it slowly changes him and it affects him, and he goes from being this one that cares about others to just slowly becoming more and more selfish and more reserved. He cares about all these other people on the Fellowship. Boromir dies, and then Gandalf dies, and he realizes fuck, this journey is something I should just do on my own. Otherwise, all these people are probably going to die. And, am I willing to sacrifice myself kind of thing? And in the end, he is, until he gets there and the ring really takes over him as a character, and just, he doesn't want to give it up. And thank God Gollum fights him, and they have to lose it anyways, right? Because by the end of it, he's just so deeply changed as a character. He goes from that happy hobbit to being this guy that's seen war, and he's a little more serious and a little more reserved and knows what evil there is in the world, where I feel like he didn't know that before.
Yeah, it's almost like he had
a soldier.
He had to do something drastic to make his life change, but he didn't realize how drastic it would change him.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a good example of a soldier. I mean, Tolkien went to war.
Yeah. And I think a great testament to Frodo's character is that he's not like a boastful person at the end of it, right? Mm-hmm. He doesn't come back going, I saved the world, you guys are alive because of me. No. Anything like that. He's not like that at all. And he doesn't really talk about it. It's not something that he's necessarily proud of, it's just something that he did, and it changed him. And
it just happened.
Yeah. It happened.
He had a piece of pizza.
He was there. He carried it. I mean, at the end of the day, he didn't throw it in willingly. So does he really want to be that proud of it? It did. Yeah. It did overcome him in a sense. So yeah, I always liked that he wasn't boastful about it.
That's something him and Sam are both similar about. They're both very humble people.
True war heroes, I'd say.
Well, I think that wraps it up on our first episode of Frodo and Sam. We will catch you on the flip side for our next episode.
The clue, they're from Lord of the Rings, and they're always hungry.
And they always want to smoke.
Yes. And drink.
Did we just become best friends?
Yup.
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Thanks for listening to Best Friends Playbook Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
You can also email us episode suggestions at bestfriendsplaybook@gmail.com. And if you could please leave us a review on iTunes, it helps us greatly to grow our podcast.